We talked about stories being about movement. If I know I'm trying to move you to this place of emotion so that you can make a decision, where am I starting? Once you
Right.
start, let's say you want to make people feel happy at the end of this, right? So I have to start from a certain place. So what's the contrasting emotion to happiness, right? Maybe I'm
Absolutely.
going to make you angry first, and maybe I'm going to make you sad first. So then I can take you on a journey to a place of happiness because voila, we have solved that for you or something. But conflict, contrast, and keep it simple.
All right. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you here with us today. If you're new here, my name is Ashley Martin. I am the founder and CEO of Cerulean Consulting Group. We are a full-service PR and marketing agency that is really focused on helping nonprofits and social enterprises kind of get their businesses and organizations to the next level. So I'm here today by the lovely Nick Stephanie. I would love for you to introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Nick Stephanie. I have been partnered up with Cerulean for almost 2 years now. I support with business development efforts, and sometimes I even contribute strategy to incoming clients. So you may see my face if you do decide to join our team soon.
Absolutely. We are so grateful to have Nick on the team, and I know you guys are going to enjoy the conversation today with her and myself. So let's dive right in because I know you guys are
Yes.
probably super busy. I'm going to share my screen. I also want to let you guys know, hopefully the chat is open. So if you have any trouble commenting in the chat, please let me know. I'm going to double check one thing because that is an issue actually I forgot we ran into last time that I want to make sure you guys. So it looks like you can submit questions and you should also be able to hopefully comment in the chat. So if you guys can just tell me where you're from, a little bit about yourself, I'd love to know that. Otherwise, I know we have a couple of people joining by phone today, which is fine too. So welcome. Thanks for
Welcome.
coming on to listen with us today. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. And
I'm excited because this is one of my favorite topics. I could talk about storytelling all day, every day.
it really is kind of powerful. Like, I don't think people realize just how important storytelling can be.
Mm-hmm.
So today, as you guys know, you signed up. The workshop is called Purpose-Driven Content, Storytelling for Social Change. And I think that's the part that's really powerful is that we have to keep these stories going, not only from that historical, perspective or to educate folks, but also to just like spread the word and share the good news about your impact in the community. So today I want to just start out by telling you a little bit about Cerulean. You're probably like, who is that? What is, what is Cerulean? Like I said earlier, we are a full service PR and marketing agency. We're based in the Midwest, but we serve clients throughout the country. We love working on a variety of PR and marketing services. So we offer everything from copywriting and web development to graphic design, branding, logo creation. And then we can also help kind of elevate. If you already have the essentials, we can help you get to that next level, right? When it comes to strategy, specific, creating campaigns for specific projects or goals, and just helping you kind of like facilitate a marketing plan overall. So we are full service. We aim to be a one-stop shop for our clients. We have about 25 team members spread across the country, which we were actually just talking about. I was sharing that it's been on my heart to kind of check in with our team down south, and I haven't done that just yet. So I'm going to make that a priority as soon as we get off the call. And if you guys are in the line of the hurricane, we're certainly praying for you and hoping that, you guys get back to a space of normalcy very, very soon and that all your friends and family are safe.
Absolutely.
So at Cerulean, we're a little different from your regular agency. We really believe in the power of community and that, marketing can be used as a tool for building that community and maintaining strong relationships with that community. Our tagline is "We're better together," and that not only means like you and I, our teams are better together, us helping your organization, but also it literally means like our neighbors all across the world, right? Like each of us has a unique gift, and our job is to just maximize that gift so that we can be in service to one another. And so we're really, really proud of the fact that we can kind of take a community-focused approach to marketing. And that's different. You often hear people talk about marketing through the lens of like sales. It feels very transactional, and that's not us. We're really interested in your story and how you're making an impact in the world to improve the quality of life for us all. So our goal is to help you connect and celebrate groups of people with common interest. That's actually tied to the mission of our conversation today as well. We want to help you tell your story so that you can find your tribe and really kind of make an impact. This workshop, as I said before, is specifically for nonprofit leaders, directors, social impact leaders, grassroots community organizers, creative activists, and change makers. So if that's you, you're in the right place. We're choosing to do this topic at this particular time because we're in the last part of 2024. 30% of annual giving happens in December. 10% of all donations come in during the last 3 days of the year. And year-end giving can account for up to 50% of annual donations for many organizations. This is also an election year. So November 5th, right now leading up to that date, we've got the market saturated with political ads. It can be really hard to kind of cut through and tell your story. So we want to really help you kind of start now in preparation for reaching your year-end goals. Now, me being me, I had to insert this slide because I just wanted to stop and say thank you. I think that it's really, really important that we just have a moment of gratitude because, I'm getting emotional already talking about this. See, this is why I can't do stuff. I try to hide, you guys, because I get really, really attached to our work. But this is my challenge in the season to kind of step out and be more visible. But like I said, me being me, I can't go any further without just acknowledging the service, the impact, the sacrifice that you have and that you make on behalf of our community. I know that a lot of nonprofits and social enterprises, change makers, creatives, every one of us, we are really truly giving with our heart, we're giving with our time, and we're giving with our intention. And that is much more than just giving with money, right? And so if you haven't felt appreciated, if you haven't felt seen, if you haven't felt heard, I want you to know that we hear you, we see you, and we thank you today. Okay. So part of this is also making sure that you're able to kind of recognize and tell the stories that of your work, but also of your peers so that everyone can kind of feel that same level of gratitude and appreciation for their contributions.
Beautiful.
I know. Okay. Girl, I'm like, this too early in the presentation to cry, guys.
This is the perfect time to cry. As a Pisces rising, it's always the perfect time to cry.
I can't fight it. I have to say, I can't fight it. It comes. So, all right. So I do want to start out by saying storytelling is so important. I'm sure, Nick, you could probably chime in here too, but storytelling helps us connect emotionally with our stakeholders. It helps us remind them that their contributions have a direct impact on real lives. I wanted to insert some questions that can help you think about, what's so important about your story, right? So maybe start by journaling an answer to what's your purpose? What's your organization's purpose, right? What keeps you motivated as an individual that's contributing to this organization? But also, what is the mission and vision of your organization in your own words? You might even want to ask a few people in your org to get different perspectives, different answers to that question, and streamline it so that if you are getting the sense that the message is disjointed out to the community, step one is going to be to kind of like coordinate and streamline that message so that everyone is on the same page. Okay. Another question I thought would be good to start with is, how is the world a better place with your organization in it, right? Like when we tell stories, we want to tell stories of transformation. We want to tell stories of impact. We want to illustrate kind of like the mission and vision in real time. And so I want you to take a moment to, again, ask your peers, ask yourself, how is the world a better place with our organization in it? And then conversely ask, how bad would things be if we didn't exist? Or maybe even give a specific example of how things would be harder, more difficult, or wouldn't occur if your organization was not currently in place. So I'm going to pause here for a minute because I know Nick chimed in at the beginning to say that storytelling is one of her favorite topics. As a filmmaker, that yes, it definitely is. So please tell us a little bit about how storytelling has impacted your life, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, stories are the most important thing that we have. It's the thing that contributes to human evolution. If you really think about it, the only thing that has evolved our civilization is the stories that we tell each generation to push it forward. We get to the point that we are today. You even have the mission that you have today because someone told you a story about change. Someone told you a story about impact, and that did something to you. It evoked something in you, it invoked something in you. So I believe that when you think about stories, if you think about movement, when you think about the plot of a movie that you're watching, right, it has to move a character from one place to the other, right? In this we call it transformation. Transformation is just movement. I am trying to move you from where you are. My organization is coming in and we are the catalyst for that. So your story is basically you just explaining in dramatic fashion how you do that. And this is the thing that will survive. People may not remember all of the facts. Our brains really won't even ingest all of that information unless it's in a story format, because that is the pattern that our brain has grown to see. But our brain also loves patterns. So when we have something that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, our brain gets it. You can put all of the information right there in that. But if I just give you the facts and I just lay it down, I'm never going to remember that, because especially at this time, we're bombarded with so much stuff. There's no way that someone is going to remember the facts of your organization if you don't dress it up in something that is memorable for them. So storytelling is important because it does bring out those emotions in people, and that's what people are going to remember. They may not remember everything that you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. And I will just wrap up and say this.
Yeah.
That's why you have to be authentic with your storytelling, because people will be able to feel if it's inauthentic, and people can see right through that. You see brands all the time that you're just like, I see right through this brand. And then there are missions that you interact with, and you have to do something. You have to buy a shirt, send a donation. Like, you have to do something because you feel it so strongly. So hopefully by the end of this presentation, you have some tools to walk away with, just to refresh your story or to start using storytelling if you're not already using that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so important. Um, Something you said for some reason brought back this quote of like, people won't remember what you say or do, but they will remember how you make them feel.
Yes.
And I feel like when I think about storytelling, that's also part of the transformation, right? It's like you are touching someone on a deeper level, you're connecting with them outside of that initial transaction. So I really like your description, because I feel like it is in the fabric of our culture. It is going to be, it has been, and it will forever be
Yeah.
a part of who we are as a people. So I'm really glad that we're able to talk about this today.
Mm-hmm.
So, in alignment with that, basically the importance of storytelling, it is about connecting emotionally to your different audiences. It helps increase engagement and it builds trust. Every organization is going to have its own unique set of audiences. But for example, donors are more likely to contribute when they see the tangible impact of their donations and you tell that story. Volunteers are more likely to sign up for more opportunities when you tell empowering stories that are illustrating, how their service is transforming lives. And then staff are even retained when they feel seen, appreciated, celebrated, and heard, when their contributions are recognized. So these stories are really showing our stakeholders that we care, that we're stewarding their funds, appropriately, and that we actually are making an impact. Y'all, there are hundreds of thousands, probably millions at this point, of nonprofits across the country. Some of them probably need to, collaborate, and some probably need to dissolve. But I would challenge you, if you feel strongly that your organization is really, truly intended to make an impact in our world, then tell us why, tell us how. That's the core of some of these stories. So when we talk about the power of purpose-driven content, one thing in particular I want to highlight is that word purpose, okay? So purpose could mean one of two things. It can mean like, what's your purpose? Like, what's your mission in life? How are you impacting the community? But it can also mean like, what's your desired outcome, okay? So Are you trying to raise more money? Are you trying to recruit more staff or volunteers or customers if you're a social enterprise? Are you trying to increase awareness or advocate about a particular topic or mission, right? So I want to just mention that because when we think about purpose, you need to define for yourself and your organization what your intended purpose of telling the story is, okay? So we have to first understand our target audiences after we set that goal. We need to think about, okay, if my goal is fundraising, then I'm going to be telling stories to my donor base. If my goal is volunteer recruitment, I'm going to be telling stories to the community at large, segmenting accordingly. If my goal is to get my current volunteer database activated to volunteer for a particular project, then I'm speaking to them, and they are already kind of like fitting a certain description. But in general, we have access to tools that can help us analyze data and access our desired target audiences more effectively, right? So you're able to personalize your communication. You're able to really segment your communication so that you're not sending the same message to everyone. And you're able to also measure your results by checking open rates, engagement rates. You're able to check some of those data, those clicks, those key performance indicators to see if your messaging is actually having the intended impact. So first, I would suggest, create a goal, but then also understand who that goal is targeting. After you kind of identify your target audience, there's a couple different tools I want to mention today to make sure that you guys are aware of to make your life a little bit easier. First is a content calendar. What's your game plan? Okay. We want to create a content calendar, ideally for a 12-month period, but at least per quarter. I would suggest creating a content calendar that is utilizing a variety of tactics to help you tell your story in the most effective way. Now, you can't choose your tactics until you choose your goal and you choose your audience, okay? Then you can identify the best tactic that will help you reach that particular audience. You also want to map out major holidays and events, and your organization might even have specific milestones. Like one of our clients has a 20-year anniversary coming up. We just had a client that had a 100-year anniversary. Like, there are major milestones that are really, really important. Just to get you started, here's some dates that you can be mindful of, just general holidays, election day. But you need to get everyone in your organization on the same page. So if you are the marketing director or marketing lead at your company, or if you are in a different role, maybe you're like, I just do social, you could still create a content calendar and get buy-in from other departments or other, or your supervisors, so that they can also see, hey, let's think strategically about how we arrange these pieces to tell the most impactful story that will help us reach our goal. As you are planning your strategy, you also want to be organized, okay? I think Nick knows this about me by now. I love, love, love structure and systems and really just kind of creating, simplifying things so that we can work smarter, not harder. If you don't already have a story bank, you need one. Like, where you been? So that's why you're here. You're here to learn things like this. But a story bank is a place where you can collect those stories and track the development of each one. I would suggest using a tool like Asana or Trello or Basecamp, a project management tool, where you can track the story from the conception phase or idea phase all the way through publishing, okay, or promotion. So these three tools are tools that you can use to take notes and keep your notes organized. You can assign deadlines. You can also assign team members to help you build out different elements of that story. Maybe you need someone to go take pictures. Maybe you need someone to conduct the interview and write quotes. Maybe you need someone to actually post it on social once it's ready. But all of those pieces will come together using your project management tool. And your story bank is like your central hub to collect and organize those stories. Where do you find them, though? You actually should create a story request form. I love creating story request forms, not only for just the purpose of like marketing, but, also sales and like testimonials. I mean, you can also think about like, feedback forms and how those might also lead to good stories. You might already have some forms in place in your organization that you can look at the back end and see, oh, well, I know we were just asking them if they were happy with their service, but they actually went above and beyond and told us a little bit more about why. And that I want to follow up and get more information about that story, right? So you don't always have to start from scratch. Sometimes it's just collecting the information that already exists, but you do have to ask. So you should consider talking to people in your organization. You should, but one thing I would say is as you're collecting these stories from people, don't feel overwhelmed by having to like take notes and organize it yourself. Just send people a link. Say, hey, can you tell me more about this? I heard you say that in a meeting. I know we don't have time to chat right now, but I'm gonna send you a link to the story request form. Can you fill that out and help me gather some more details so that if we want to use it in some of our marketing materials, we have it on hand. Okay, so in order to do this, you could use some form builders like Google Forms, Typeform, FormStack, SurveyMonkey. There's so many form builders. Your organization might even have some that they prefer, but these are tools that it's literally a form, name, first name, last name, email, phone number, describe the event, maybe some pictures, attach some pictures from this event. Those are all things that I would say you would ask on that form to collect and organize your stories. Okay. And then you can put that in once you get a submission, add it to your story bank. So that way you have it and you can kind of develop the use of it over time.
I'll say I find it easy to also just make that a part of your process. So as you are planning out a project, if you know you're going into a new era or like we're going into Q4, the campaigns that you launch include a place towards the end of the campaign where you are collecting stories from people. So if you did an event, make sure that that survey is a part of the wrap up of the event. If you are going to an event, maybe you're going to a conference, before you get there, make sure that you have a plan for sending something out to the people that you meet, all the business cards that you scan, or all of the, this list of people that Ashley's about to go through that you may engage with. And another thing to think about is if you think about yourself as a journalist in that time when you're collecting stories, you don't necessarily have to worry about how you're going to tell it. Just think about asking as many questions as you possibly can and really getting as much information as you possibly can so that when you're ready to write the story, you have everything that you need, which is the purpose of Story Bank, which I definitely recommend too.
Absolutely. And then some unsuspecting storytellers are, your supervisor, your front office workers, your frontline service professionals, your receptionists, your social media managers, your program participants. I put even if they can't talk, because like, for example, maybe you work at like an animal shelter and, you're telling the transformation of a pet that was abandoned and sick and now they're well. And you kind of like paint that picture. Even though the animal can't speak, you can kind of like tell that story on their behalf, right? So, Nick, you're exactly right. I think you have to incorporate it it has to become a normal everyday thing to listen for stories, to capture those stories, and to organize those stories. The biggest piece of information I hear when I talk to clients about this is that, yeah, I heard that, but I don't remember where I heard that. Or, oh, I wrote that in a notebook. Maybe I can find it. And they're like, all over the place trying to like hunt down this lead that they had. If you create the story bank, you have a place. Everything will have a home, and you can just keep it organized there, reference it, and even share it with your agency or with your marketing team so that they can execute based on what you're uploading at that time. So let's talk a little bit about what makes a great story. Okay. First, I want to say impact. You want to make sure that the impact that you're describing, that the goal. So let me say it this way. The purpose of you sharing that story, there's a goal, right? You want to get more money. You want to get more volunteers or customers. You want to get something, right? So I would define a good story is, will it help me reach that goal? Because you can tell any story, but be strategic. Will it help me reach the goal? Also, brevity. Social media, love it or hate it, it has shortened our attention spans, okay? So try to be as short and sweet as possible, but also be creative, okay? Try to tell a story from a unique perspective. You can also try to use technology from a creativity standpoint and use it in a unique way that aligns with your brand. There's just so many ways that you could be creative to tell an amazing story, right? And I also want you to think about how can you customize or reformat your stories according to the platforms that they're on, right? So the way that you tell a story on TikTok is going to be totally different than how you tell a story on LinkedIn. And we want to make sure that we are accounting for that. You also want to pull on some heartstrings, use emotion. You can elicit joy. I mean, I would be very intentional about how does this story make people feel? Does it make them just freeze and not want to take any action? Does it make them get excited about the possibilities if they invest to help you be more impactful? Does it leave them confused? Is it clearly illustrating how your product or service or organization is transforming lives? Okay. And then I also suggest that you build in like layers of interest, because you can extend the life of a story 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, multiple years. Like essentially your organization probably has a like core, an origin story that, why you created it, what brought you, what kind of pushed you to actually like get things started, or how has it been sustained 20 years, 50 years, 100 years? Like what was that story? And how can you keep telling bits and pieces of it over time? And I'll give you some examples of this in a minute, but definitely keep in mind that a great story, I mean, you can add merch to help you tell that story and make some money. You can host an event to help illustrate the story and bring it to life. I mean, there's so many ways that you can add layers of interest. But those are just some thoughts on how to make a great story. You look like you want to jump in here
I
too.
do. I do. I want to add my two.
Yes.
Okay, four. Let me just be honest.
No, please do.
So my tips for storytelling: number one, keep it simple. You
Mhm.
really don't have to overdo it, because the more simple your story is, the easier it will be to remember, especially when we're talking about social stories, which you may only have 30 to 60 seconds. So a lot of times you don't even have to worry about telling words, like you can use visuals, you can use music, you can use so many elements to tell that story for you along with your script. But my word of advice, what makes a great story, is go simple and go small.
Mm,
Really zoning into the details of a thing. Like we can talk about the big event, or we can talk about the one person that this event is going to impact. We can talk about this one small detail, and that really brings people in and creates a feeling of intimacy.
right.
And something else to think about. And when you were talking, Ashley, I thought about legacy nonprofits who may have been doing this for 10 or 15 years. And maybe you think,
Yeah.
like, what other stories do I even have to tell? So just
Yeah.
some tools to add to your toolkit. Conflict and contrast are really good areas to start
Mm,
with when you're thinking about how do I want to tell a story. If you start with a piece of conflict, and I don't mean like clickbaiting, but if you
yeah.
start with what's the conflict happening right now that your nonprofit is really aiming to solve in this moment, and if you don't have one, well, that could also help wake up your organization, right? Because we
Yeah.
do get comfortable when things are rolling and the
Yeah.
donations are coming in, and it kind of feels like okay, but we know the times that we live in. So finding your piece of the conflict and then contrast, using that to understand what's the emotion that you're trying to get them to. We talked about stories being about movement. If I
Yeah.
know I'm trying to move you to this place of emotion so that you can make a decision, where am I starting? Once you
Right.
start, let's say you want to make people feel happy at the end of this, right? So I have to start from a certain place. So what's the contrasting emotion to happiness, right? Maybe I'm
Absolutely.
going to make you angry first, and maybe I'm going to make you sad first. So then I can take you on a journey to a place of happiness, because voila, we have solved that for you, or something. But conflict, contrast, and keep it simple.
I would also add to that, and I love that conflict or contrast. I haven't heard it phrased that way before. I feel like most people say problem solution, right? Which I
Mhm.
think is like the entry level version, and then here comes Nick with the advanced version of contract versus conflict versus contrast. And so, to me, if you're just starting out and if you're brand new to storytelling, think about the problem that your organization is solving, and talk about the solution, right? But like Nick is saying, that contrast is demonstrating kind of not just the problem and solution, but all the other things wrapped around it too. How does it make you feel? How does it change your life? How does it elevate you in some way? Like, I feel like contrast is more detailed than just the solution. You know, it's actually kind of painting a picture. And I
Mhm.
think that could be really impactful for people. So thank you for sharing that. That's really, really good. I love that. We have to add that to the Slack, girl.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing I would say is like, y'all prepare for a response. I don't know how many people share stories and they get people all riled up, and then they are not ready to receive the response that it has elicited. Okay. So when you get people motivated, when you pull the heartstrings, when you get them inspired, they're ready to take action. You've done an excellent job. And now you got to be ready to receive that. And so make sure that you set up and customize those online giving platforms. Make sure that you are scheduling like, you know, your storytelling in alignment with like your major events. That's all about the strategy. Make sure that you have thank you messages in place. You can automate these things to make your life easier, but you also can ask for more stories, right? Like if you start telling stories and people get excited and they're like, oh yeah, I remember a time when that happened to me, or I had that same experience with your organization. Have a form ready for that too. So think about how when you are, you know, really doing a great job of telling these stories, you know, telling unique, creative stories, this is going to actually create some movement. It's going to create some activity for your organization, and you got to be ready to capture and capitalize on that. So I want to give a few examples today of how we have done some storytelling for clients. For this client in particular, this is Marian University. It was a local college in our area. They were actually launching a new master's program to help improve literacy for kids. And, you know, when we talk about like a college or university and a degree track, that's just like, you know, oh yeah, I'm going to do my standard like paid ads. I'm going to do a website. I'm going to do all these things. But what I really liked about Marian is that we were able to also pitch local media and give them access to a student who had gone through the program and was able to testify first person on like how that experience transformed their classroom. Okay. So they had a experience with students in the classroom that they were able to explain how going through this master's program equipped them to be a better teacher. And that was able, that experience helped them raise test scores and performance rates of their students in the classroom. And they were able to paint the picture of the type of student, how the student was struggling before, how the curriculum gave them tools to improve their education, and then they showed the outcome, right? And that's a whole university college program, but we took one teacher that completed the program. We put her in her classroom and we were able to kind of tell that story about like how that classroom was transformed as a result of their relationship. And I mentioned that because, like I said, Marian University was a client of ours. We helped to design and execute their marketing materials for the new program. We helped them conceptualize some of these campaigns. And we also went on to manage social media for one of their related programs. So if you're looking for help telling these stories, that's an example of one way we could do that for you as well. Another thing I want to mention is we worked for many years with the Madam Walker Legacy Center. They are one of those legacy organizations, Nick, that was reaching major milestones, approaching their 100-year anniversary, right? And at the time we were with them, it was like their 95th anniversary. And we were able to help them brand a brand new signature fundraiser that has gone on to raise more than $500,000 for their nonprofit. And so we're so excited because this particular organization is a staple in the Indianapolis community. It was on Indiana Ave, which was a historically predominantly Black street in downtown Indianapolis that was filled with business owners and just kind of like served as the hub of the Black community. And so not only are we telling the story of transformation of how that community looks today and how it's used today, but we also were telling the story of what was happening back then. So this organization did a great job of kind of adding those layers, right? So they were introducing tours, historical tours during the festival weekend. They partnered with another gentleman who had a business in town who was already kind of like talking about historical tours in the area. And they really started to come together and push out his service because he was highlighting their organization as well. So that's another tip. You don't always have to be the one to do all the work. You could leverage partnerships. Okay. They also were able to kind of, again, talk through the lens of like renovation. They were getting a multi-million-dollar renovation to their facility. And they were saying, hey, this is how we looked before. This is how the space was at the time that Madam C.J. Walker herself and her daughter established it. But now, here's what we came in and did. And here's how all of the design elements have enhanced the space for the future. And back then, yes, we had amazing, greats that graced our stage. They had jazz artists, all kind of like performers from back in the day, 1920s, like roaring 20s. Think about all of that, right? But now they also have amazing folks like Babyface and Gladys Knight. Right, all these things have come on the stage even just recently, and so connecting those dots, telling those stories about how this is that same stage, these same seats, the same space. I think that's really a easy way to kind of like tell the impactful story too. And then we were also able to kind of go on and do all of that through social media. So another example that I'll share quickly, which is more probably, it may be more useful for for-profit businesses as well, is that Pitch Feast and the Black Business Entrepreneurship Incubator, which is a new program that they're launching. But Pitch Feast has been a client of ours for several years, and they are a business pitch competition for Black and Brown entrepreneurs, also in Central Indiana. And they are focused on helping those entrepreneurs get access to capital, because historically it can be very challenging for folks to gain access to capital in our community, right? And so for them, we're able to, first of all, they're doing a competition. So everyone's entering the competition. That's a form, right? We're asking them to tell us their story. Then we're promoting the story of the 10 businesses that have been selected to pitch. We're helping to celebrate them as entrepreneurs, help them get the word out about their business. And also, after they compete and they win, we're able to tell the story of transformation, of how the funding helped to transform their business, and how the organization Pitch Feast and its partners were able to invest and give back to the community and help build our community overall. So that to me is a very like traditional, you're kind of like stamping each major milestone happening within the trajectory of your client relationship or your customer journey, right? So you're thinking about like, okay, they apply, they get selected, they pitch, but also like they apply. How do you feel? You're nervous. Am I going to get selected? Like, oh, what could this do for your business? Oh, this could help me do this. This could help me do that if I were to win. Then you win, or you get the opportunity to pitch. How are you preparing to pitch? Hey, if you've pitched before, can you give these new folks some tips on what to expect? There's so much programming you can introduce and wrap around that. So anyways, my brain goes crazy, y'all, but there's so many things that you can kind of layer onto these examples. And I just wanted to give you some examples of how it's not always on you. You can utilize an agency partner to kind of help. So that said, if you guys are interested in learning more about working with Cerulean, we'd be honored to work with you. We do have some new packages that we have put together. You can book us to speak for your team, do a workshop. You can book us for social media, content marketing, event management, all sorts of things. So just I'll put a link in the chat where you can actually sign up to get on our calendar to do an exploratory call and get more information. But we'd love to hear from you. And if you have any questions in particular, yeah, just let us know. Nick, is there anything you want to add or anything you think we should mention?
I really hope that y'all take advantage of that exploratory call. I think even in 30 minutes, 60 minutes, however long we choose to set that, there's honestly so much information to be gained just in having that conversation. If you are feeling, even if you're not feeling overwhelmed, even if this is just a time of innovation, we're also going into a new year. We're getting past the election season, which, if it goes the way we want it to go, that just opens the door for a lot more storytelling, honestly, either way. But there's a lot that comes with telling a story. We just went through this slide, and as you can see, like there's so many different layers. There's the story itself, the collection of it, the translating that into visuals, then doing that on social, then you got to re-update the story. Just call us, let us help you with that. Just let us help you with that so
Yes,
that you
yes.
can go and do the things that you do best while taking, let us set up the story machine for you.
Yeah, you don't have to be good at everything, you know. I
Mhm.
mean, that's exactly, going back to our mission of we're better together. And I really believe strongly in like when you gather good people and you give them the freedom to do their best work, you create the conditions for them to do so, then everybody benefits from that. And so we want you to go and serve the community. We want you to, feed the hungry, shelter those that need it, clothe everyone, love the babies, do all the things, right? That's not our gift. That's not our particular mission in that moment. But if it's been put on your heart to do, if you've been given the resources to do it, if you have a gift to do that, then we want to help amplify that for you so that you can reach as many people and have the best possible experience in the process.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't see any questions in the chat. I knew this was going to be a quick workshop because it's something that has to be customized to you. It has to be really, really specific to your business, to your organization. So if you want to have a one-on-one with us, chit chat, have like some personalized conversation about how your organization can benefit from better storytelling, we'd love to talk. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you guys again for joining us. I hope that you got something amazing out of today's workshop. And yeah, we'll be doing this every month, a new topic. So we'll talk to you again very soon.
This is great. Reach out to us. Y'all have a good weekend.
Bye, guys.
Bye.